everyone. You have joined us for our cook-along. I'm Julie Matthews, a certified nutrition consultant with Nourishing Hope. And we are doing a cook-along in conjunction with USAAA for a pre-conference event, and I'm really excited to share this with you. Understanding and seeing the value of specialized diets for children, families often ask me, but isn't it difficult to do? And so I thought today it could be really fun to be in my kitchen with me and for me to show you some really simple, delicious, tasty recipes that even picky eaters will enjoy. So watch and cook along with us. And to get us started, a few words from Larry Kaplan, the founder of USAAA.
Good evening and welcome to USAAA TV. Hi, I'm Larry Kaplan, founder and chairman of US Autism and Asperger Association. USAAA TV has been providing live streams since our very first World Conference in 2006. In collaboration with ZenWorks Productions and USAAA, the conference became the first live stream of an autism conference in the world. Then, in 2010, the USAAA conference became the most viewed autism and Asperger conference in the world, with over 34,000 people viewing the online event. On August 15th, we will launch our annual World Conference from Salt Lake City, Utah, presented in part by Great Plains Laboratory and New Beginnings Nutritionals. You will have the opportunity to view the entire conference here on USAAA TV. You can pre-order this live event right here on USAAA.tv and save 30%. There are 3 video packages to choose from. You can stream it live and download it to even watch it later at your leisure. To begin this year's conference, we are bringing to you a special pre-conference event with Julie Matthews, a certified nutrition specialist who will be presenting at the conference in 3 different sessions, with one of them having fun with your blender. So tonight, we are excited to have Julie bring to you quick tips for supporting a healthy diet. I hope all of you have your ingredients with you so you can prepare these wonderful recipes right along with her this evening. And now, I would like to welcome Julie to start cooking from her kitchen to yours. Hello, Julie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Matthews. And I am here looking forward to doing our cook-along tonight. I've got my sous chef right here. She may or may not help. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to be cooking several recipes today. So I'm really excited to be here with you live from my kitchen, which is really, really fun. So for those of you who are cooking along, let's get started by just doing 1 or 2 quick things. If you can turn your oven on to 325 degrees Fahrenheit and get it preheated, that'd be great. And one more task, Ruby, what do you say? If you can take your coconut butter, if you have it, and put it in some hot water, place the whole glass jar in maybe a pot or a bowl filled with hot water so it can start to soften, then we'll have those things when we need them. And we'll be right back in a moment to start cooking. In the meantime, we just wanted to say hello to Larry. Hello, Larry.
Hi, Julie. How are you? It's great to have you on. And, I hear you're going to, shake things up, with that blender at our conference in Salt Lake City next month. So I want to know, are there any surprises?
It's going to be fun. Tonight we don't have blender for the sake of sound because it'll be loud. So we're saving all the fun blender tricks for the conference itself. I'm really looking forward to being there next month and sharing just some fun recipes, but also really the importance of nutrition and the biochemistry and everything. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I just wanted to tell you that after the introduction, so I guess now I can take my jacket off and I have my apron on. So I'm going to go in the kitchen, and the oven's on at 350. So I got this in Italy a couple months ago. So I'm all set. I'm ready to go, and I'm excited, and we're going to start cooking.
Great, Larry. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank
you, Julie.
All right. Well, we're really excited. I'm really looking forward to being at USAAA next month. And we have there are going to be some great speakers there. So as Larry mentioned, I'll be doing several sessions. We also have Bob Sears, Dr. Bob Sears, who is going to be doing a session at the conference as well. And he is here to join us tonight, and we'll talk to him in just a few minutes here. We're looking forward to connecting up with him. And in the meantime, for those of you who are joining along for the cooking segment, get your ingredient list out, and we will get going very soon. If you've got your kale, your olive oil, your kale, your chicken. If you haven't already cooked your chicken, then you might want to just get some water boiling, and then you can get your chicken cooking as well. All right, and then we'll get started with the recipes all in just a couple minutes. All right. Dr. Bob's going to join us here, it sounds like, in a second. All right, so while we're waiting for him to join us on the line, let's see here. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. So just a reminder, we're going to make some chicken pancakes tonight, as well as some kale chips, and also an energy bar. So with the chicken pancakes, we need to have that chicken pre-cooked. If you haven't already done so, why don't you turn on a pot of water, get that boiling, and whenever you get a chance, you'll want to boil that chicken breast for probably about 20-25 minutes till it's thoroughly cooked through. But hopefully some of you have already done that, so when we get to that section, we'll be ready. Otherwise, you can get started right now while we're waiting for Dr. Bob to join us. And I think he's joining us right now here. Hi.
Hey, hi.
Hello, Dr. Bob. I would love for you, I'm so glad you could join us tonight. We're just doing a fun cooking segment from our home here. And I see you're in your home, and I think you just went to the market yourself as well. So I just thought it would be fun for a pre-USAAA conference, since we're both going to be there. If you could just want to spend maybe a couple minutes, I'm sure you'll talk about it at the conference, but just a couple minutes for maybe parents that are joining us for the first time or just learning about food and nutrition. You know, why is food and nutrition so important for children, but also why is it so particularly helpful for children with autism and children with ADHD and things like that?
Well, from what I've seen as a doctor, and I think most of us doctors that treat kids with autism agree, that really one of the biggest keys to healing is fixing the gut, healing the gut. You have to get the gut healthy. And as you know, as a nutritionist, there's no better way to do that than to not only eat healthy, but to avoid, some of the most, common allergens, things that irritate the gut. In autism, we commonly see that as gluten, and casein, dairy products. And one of the things I know you talk about, and I've learned a lot about over the last few years, is the importance of lowering your carbs, being very careful with the carbs you eat, because in some kids, overloading on carbs can be just as serious and harmful as overloading on gluten or on casein. And so incorporating low-carb diets, I think, has become a kind of a staple, for these kids, in addition to gluten-free, casein-free.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. Any quick favorites in your household of things that you love to do for a quick nutrient-dense meal? I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm thinking dessert. I'm thinking a treat. We've managed to make some pretty decent gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. My wife's always been famous for those, and then we went gluten-free this year ourselves. And we're getting close. We're getting pretty close with the gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. That's kind of one of my favorite treats.
Great. Well, good. And you have a good point. You can still eat these treats on occasion as part of an overall diet if you make them healthy and you eat them sparingly. So I think it's important to realize, we all need to have a treat in our life once in a while, and it can be done in a healthier manner. So, well, yes. I can't wait to try your chocolate chips and chocolate chip cookies. We'll compare recipes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you're going to be at USAAA this year talking, right?
Yes, I am. I'm going to be doing a few different lectures, including one on how to make nutritious things in a blender, maybe add some supplements and put some other good things in there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all different areas of it. And your talk, do you want to just share a highlight of what you're going to talk about for people?
I'm basically going to be giving an overview of the biomedical approach, to treating kids with autism. It's going to focus on, treating the most common medical problems, nutritional deficiencies, talk about, what parents can do at home, maybe not necessarily if they have a doctor, if they don't have a doctor, there's so much they can do on their own through the biomedical approach. I'm going to just try to give parents the help they need to get started along that road.
Great, wonderful. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there and going, and hopefully a bunch of people that are listening today will also be there. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Julie.
All right, have a good night. All right,
All right.
Bye. All right, everyone. Well, we are back in the kitchen here, and I'm Julie Matthews, a certified nutrition consultant with Nourishing Hope. And tonight we're going to make several recipes. So those of you who may have just joined us, in the window where you're watching this video, there is a link, and on that link you can find both the ingredient list. So you might have some of those ingredients in your refrigerator right now, even if you didn't plan on this ahead of time. We're going to make some kale chips, so if you have some kale handy, if you have maybe some rotisserie chicken or something on board with a couple eggs, we'll make some chicken pancakes, and then we'll make some fun desserts as well. So everything tonight is gluten-free and dairy-free and soy-free. And actually, interesting, Dr. Bob Sears was talking about carbohydrates and grains, and in our culture we as a general rule eat many servings of these grain-based foods and not enough vegetables and meats and other healthy whole foods. So actually all the recipes that we're going to make tonight also are grain-free. So they're going to be paleo, SCD, GAPS, as well as GFCF. So it's going to meet a lot of different dietary needs. And whenever there's something that we can make either nut-free or egg-free as well for people that might have those allergens, I'll throw those tips in. For those of you who have my Cooking to Heal, my cookbook, the recipes are going to come straight from that. And if you don't worry, I'm going to be emailing out the recipes as well. So in that box that you're watching the video on, there is the link, and that link will also guide you to the information on how to get the recipes as well. And we're going to be doing some giveaways later in the program, so stay tuned for those because you'll have an ability to register for some of those free giveaways as well. But I'll save those for a little bit further in. So let's go ahead and get started. I had mentioned turning on your oven, and that to me is really key because for the kale chips, we need them very specifically, that oven around 325, no more than 350. So you want to have it preheated so you know exactly what temperature it is. I'm going to check my oven now. My oven is actually perfectly at 325 right now, and you'll notice I have an extra thermometer because it turns out that many ovens, including mine, are often off. So if you can believe it, mine is somewhere between 50 and 75 degrees off. So if I was going just straight on the dial, then my recipes would keep turning out burnt. So if you're having some trouble with your recipes, or in general, I just recommend getting one of those thermometers so you'll know exactly the temperature. The kale chips are one of those where having the exact temperature is really helpful. Okay, so hopefully you have your oven preheating to 325. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so firstly today I'm going to start with the kale chips themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab for you the kale. Now, all you need to do, I just rinsed it and washed the kale. So if you have your kale, I'm going to try to do as much real time with you rather than a totally pre-made scripted show. So if you want right now, you can wash your kale and get it ready. And then I'm going to show you how to prepare the kale for the kale chips. All right. So to me, one of the keys to making kale chips fast and easy, I think, is just processing the kale. In other words, taking the kale off of the stem here. And it's very simple to do. It makes things go much faster. So all I do is I take a kale leaf, I loosely hold it. I don't hold the stem. I hold around the stem onto the green part, and I pull the green part and pull the stem right off. So very quickly, I can do all of the kale, and you'll see you end up with just the green part. And that's a lot easier than trying to cut the stem out or get all fancy with the stem. It's quite simple. You just hold and rip like that. Now the stems, you could put them in you could juice them in the juicer, or you could even take some of the tender parts and cook them. Otherwise, you can throw them out. It really just depends what's convenient for you. So that's what we do first. We just take them all off. You can use any kind of kale for this. You can use red kale. This is curly green kale. You can use red Russian kale. You can use lacinato kale, which is the thin, dark green ones. You can even use things other than kale. You can use arugula, or as my friends in Australia call it, rocket. So there's many different kinds of greens that you can use for this. But most people have kale on hand. I wouldn't use spinach. I don't like spinach because of the oxalates, and it doesn't quite work that well with this recipe. But any kind of hearty green, particularly any of the kales, will work just fine. Then all we do is then we're going to put some oil and put some herbs or spices or salt on them. So that's the next step. Now, you can just get yourself an organic olive oil, or what I did today is that I took a couple cloves of garlic, I smashed them, and I put them in some olive oil. So I have kind of a garlic infusion going. I didn't get all fancy and simmer it and roast the garlic or anything. I just took raw garlic and tossed it in there and left it on my counter for a few hours. If I were to keep this more than a day or so, I would put it in the refrigerator, but I like to make small little batches. The nice thing about this is if you want the flavor, but you don't want maybe the gassiness that some people get when they have garlic, or the way that garlic can burn if you try to actually put some garlic on it. If you do a little bit of garlic olive oil, that's one way. Otherwise, you can just use straight olive oil, whatever works for you. Then what I usually do is I'll take a bowl, and I'm gonna put some olive oil in that bowl just to make our life fast and easy. And then all I do is I just rub. I kind of use my hand as a paintbrush, and I just sort of rub the kale leaves with some olive oil. And then you just get both sides of it, just rub it nicely and get it nicely coated. And then we're going to place it on any sort of a baking tin. I have a couple different baking tins. We'll use this one as well. And then we're going to lay the kale out. Now you can break it in small pieces. I usually just leave it like this, but whatever you'd like. You can either break it into small pieces or you can leave it. And that's all we're gonna do right now. And I'm gonna do it along with you so that you can do it real time. And we can actually cook something. And at the end of this, if you're on West Coast time and you haven't had dinner, you can have a meal at the end. If you're on the East Coast, then you can save some things for lunch or just have the information for your next meal. And that's pretty much how that works. Place them a single layer, place them as a single layer on the baking sheet. You can also do these in the oven if you prefer the oven. I'm sorry, you can do them in the dehydrator if you have a dehydrator. But if you're using your oven and you're turning it on anyway, they work great in the oven as well. All right. Now, I'll lay those out here. And then what I'm going to do is you can then coat them with any of your favorite herbs or spices. So in this case, I'm just going to do some salt because typically kids, salt is going to be the most basic of them. You could get fancy. You could use a little cayenne pepper or various other things like that. Maybe even I have some of these different like thyme salts and some of the rosemary salts and things, and those can be fun. But I'm just going to do straight salt because I know that's what most kids are going to like the best. So in this case, I've got some Himalayan salt. This is how I do my salt. I don't have it in a shaker because I like to put it on with my hand, which I think is a nice way to evenly spread it around. And so that's going to be that. I only salt one side because they're fairly thin, and if you salt both sides, I find they're a little overly salty. And then you're just going to pop it in the oven. Now I'm making sure it's on 325. I'm going to put that in there. Now, it's going to take about 10 minutes. It depends the temperature, and this is where it becomes very specific. So what you can do is put it on for, I like to put it on for 8 or 10 minutes, but in this case I know mine isn't too hot. So I'm going to put it on for 10. We're going to come back in 10. If you put it at 325, it might take you up to 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. If you have it on 350, you can do it for 10, maybe 8. If you're on 350, there is a chance you're going to burn them. So if it's 350, put your timer for 8 minutes or 7 minutes and check them and see. And that's the way you can tell. So if you're finding that you have to go back and forth and they're not done, then you might want to turn that temperature up a little bit next time. It's really simple. You would just watch them till they're done. You want them to be green, not brown. So they should just be crispy and green. If they turn brown, the temperature is also too high then, or maybe you left them in too long. All right, so we'll do that. We'll let that one go. I'm going to do one more pan so I can join along with you, and I have some good kale chips, so I'll put that one together. Now, if there's anybody with any questions, you can type your questions in, and Martin, my husband, is going to monitor the questions, and we'll go ahead and be able to answer those for you if you have any. In this case, I'm using olive oil, and since I'm only using the oven at 325, that oil isn't going to go rancid and burn, and so that's why you can use something like a lower temperature oil like olive oil, or you can use whatever oil works given what your family's allergies are or phenol issues or whatever. So the oil is not quite as important on this one. And most oils will work. A little more regular oil. All right, so that'll be that one. We'll put those in and we'll go on to item number 2 here in a moment. These are one of my family's very favorite recipes. They are so quick and easy to do. They're a great way to eat kale. My 3-year-old loves them. They have a nice crispy, crunchy texture, and they do resemble chips in that they get nice and crispy and crunchy. So they're really a great alternative even for kids that tend to be picky eaters and those that would normally not like green things. It's surprising how many times they love these even though they're green. So, all right, so we've got those there. I'm going to do a little bit of salting of those. All right, I'm going to toss those in the oven. All right, and my oven is exactly 325. It might actually take us a couple extra minutes. Turn it up a tiny notch. Okay. All right, so that's your kale chips, and that's all you need to do. The most important thing is watching them. That's the key, is watching them so that they don't burn. So now we can go on to the chicken pancakes. All right, so let me move this. Oops. All right. Now, all right, now this recipe is so simple. So what I love to do is to make these sort of paleo style pancakes. And if you aren't allergic to eggs, there are so many different types you can make. This one is chicken and egg and a little bit of salt, that's it. and they're delicious. They're a really good protein-filled meal or snack for kids that tend to like things with a carbohydrate type of a texture, something they're used to, something they can pick up. They work really well. You can also make these without eggs by using pear sauce, and then usually you would use a bit of a different cooking method. Often baking them in the oven is good if you're not going to use eggs. So there are different ways to do them. My Cooking to Heal, I have both recipes. I have the ones with the eggs and the ones that don't have eggs. So you can look at both of those and do what's appropriate. Also, in here I have banana pancakes, which are literally just banana and eggs. I have butternut squash pancakes, which are just butternut squash and eggs. You can do a combination of chicken and butternut and eggs. So in other words, once you've got the egg, there are many different vegetables or meats that you can use, and we're going to make a really lovely pancake texture that you can use as bread or to just eat for dinner or snack. So that's what we're going to do today, and so I'm going to go ahead. I pre-cooked this, and what I did was I boiled this chicken. In this case, I went and I just got skinless, boneless chicken breast. If you're making a chicken, you can just use meat from that. If you've already made one, whatever's easiest. For this, what I did was I just boiled it. You boil it for about 20 to 25 minutes, and it'll be cooked all the way through, and that's what you want. It's about 7 ounces of cooked meat. So if you're doing this and you're maybe pulling it off a rotisserie chicken or something like that, let's actually measure. Do we have a measuring? I want a measuring cup. Do we have a measuring cup? Let's see here. All my big ones are being used. Do you have one over there, Martin? Let's just see. If I need to estimate for somebody looking on, I'd say that's about a half a cup. So I'd say maybe about, let's say, a cup of meat or so. If you don't have it, I guess I can get more precise. But for now, it's going to be 1 chicken breast. And the thing I like to do is I always like to just simplify things. So instead of making you measure everything, that's why I just go with 1 chicken breast, because it's easy and you don't have to do a lot of work. So it's about 7 ounces, and it's about a cup or so for those of you who don't have just a chicken breast. And then all you do is you put it in your food processor in little chunks. Again, boneless. You could, it's skinless. I mean, you could keep the skin on, or I didn't have skin, so I didn't. And then you put 3 eggs in. Then you're going to add a half a teaspoon of salt, which I'm just going to guess at is about that much probably. All right. Now you can also do all sorts of other things. Sometimes I'll put bone broth in here, some chicken broth. That makes it really flavorful as well. So about 1/4 cup of chicken broth you could add to this if you want to. You can also add, again, some squash or something else if you want to make it sweet. But in this case, I'm not going to make it sweet. All right, I'm going to hit blend. All right, and that is our chicken pancake batter. This is what it looks like. So if you look at it here, you can see the basic texture of it. All right, and now, if you haven't already, which I hadn't, heat your pan up so that your pan is ready to go. Now there's a few key things I think to getting a pan non-stick. I do not use non-stick pans because I don't like the chemicals that are in the pans. So it takes a little bit of an art to make a regular pan non-stick. One of my favorite nonstick surfaces is the cast iron skillet, which I absolutely love. I can fry or scramble an egg in here completely nonstick. Now, if you'll notice the coating, it took us maybe 6 years to get this nice seasoned smooth patina on here, compared to our new one, which you can see is a lot rougher and not as seasoned yet. But it is a love and a work of art to season a pan, and it really is well worth it. It will get iron in your meal, and it is a really nice cooking surface. Now, I'm not using them tonight because this is my husband's favorite non-meat pan, and so I'm not going to do meat in there. But if I were going to do it myself, I would do that. So while we're waiting for this to heat up, let's check on our chicken pancakes that just gave a ring. Okay, so what I would do at about 10 minutes is I would just check them out. I'd flip them over. They're starting to crisp up a little bit. I like to flip them just because sometimes the side that is touching the pan, it cooks differently, and just to keep them going, I like to do one flip. So I do that. And you can feel that they're starting to get a little bit crispy. And again, I figured that since I put them on exactly 325, they were going to need a little bit more cooking time than 10 minutes. So what I like to do is check them at 8 to 10 minutes and then flip them over, and either they'll be done or you might need another 10 minutes, which is what we're going to do. Okay, very good. So now we've got our pan here heating up on the stove. Just gonna rinse my hands here. All right. So now what we're going to do is I'm gonna show you how you put these in the pan. So firstly, you need some oil. Now you can use any kind of oil you like, although in this I don't use olive oil because it's going to heat a little bit hotter than I would like for olive oil. So what I'm doing here is I'm using unflavored coconut oil. So this is expeller pressed coconut oil from Wilderness Family Naturals. I get it in the big gallon size and put it into containers myself. And the nice thing about, there's the raw, which is going to be rich in nutrition, but it's going to have that coconutty flavor. And I don't really want this to have a coconut flavor. So instead I'm using the flavorless and odorless coconut oil so that I can just get a nice heating without all the flavor. Right, so that's going to be that. It's definitely ready to go. It's actually maybe a... And then what you're going to do is you're going to place your pancake batter in your pan. Now, you might need to press it down a little bit and spread it out like a pancake. We'll toss a few other little ones on here. Now we're going to cook them. Now they cook like any pancake. Since the chicken is already cooked, all you're really doing is cooking them all the way through that so that the egg firms up and is cooked all the way through. So it's really only about maybe 3 minutes per side. In fact, I'm gonna watch and we'll try to flip them in about 3 minutes and you'll see. You wanna give them enough time so they can firm up on one side so they don't kind of just smush and fall apart on you. And this is the beauty of live cooking. We'll see how mine turn out and see how non-stick they are. on probably medium-low. I usually cook most things on either low or medium-low, although you'll notice I turn the pan up higher at first. You want it higher at first, seal off the pores of the pan, then you put your oil in, then you turn it back down. Let's see, I'm getting tempted to check on them. See how you can see it's nice, it's coming off. It is not sticking, and it's in nice big one single solid form there. So this is going well. See, some of these are very nice and non-stick. So we'll give them one more minute or so, then we'll flip them over. You want to come help? My daughter wants to come help because chicken pancakes are her favorite. You gonna come help? Yeah? Come on in. Hi. You want to see our chicken pancakes? Whoa. How are they looking? Yeah? Are you ready to try one in a little bit? Yeah, you love them? We'll give you one in a minute when they're done cooking, okay? You can tell me how they are. There you go. Yeah? All right, here we go. We're going to do a flip. So let's see how many minutes that was. That was about 2 minutes. And see how that looks just like a pancake. This one, you'll notice, see, this one's not quite as firm, so when you flip it, sometimes you make more of a mess. But they all went over nicely, and we'll cook them on this side. And that's pretty much it. They're really, really fast and easy, and as you heard, they're delicious. My daughter loves them, and they're really so easy to do. So if maybe your family had a chicken, maybe you roasted a chicken, maybe you even went to the store and bought a roasted chicken, and now you're trying to figure out what to do. I know my family, we like the dark meat the best, so with something like the breast, I would likely save it and do this with it. Or if you're doing a chicken stock and you've got all that meat left over that you've boiled up, you can use that and make the chicken pancakes with that as well. All right, we'll give it a minute here. And while we're letting that have its last minute, I'm going to do one more check on my kale chips. All right. So you can see they're coming along. They're starting to get crispy. Some of them are crispy. Some of them are still soggy in the middle. You don't necessarily need to flip them again, but since I'm in here already, I'm going to see this one is already getting pretty crispy. It's pretty much ready to go. And there's no brown. It's all just green. Now this one is a little hotter at the bottom, and you can see that these are getting a little bit brown. This tray is actually probably done because it was closer to the bottom, and it's more of a brown surface. So those will be done. I mean, this one is maybe a little bit browner than I like to my liking. I prefer when they're really nice and green like that. But as long as they're not too brown, then they'll taste delicious. So I'm going to plate those up. They will continue cooking on the pan. And you can hear, nice and crispy. All right, so we've got a whole batch of kale chips. We've got the other half coming out. Let's see. We'll give those 3.5 minutes. And now the chicken pancakes have been cooking for 5 minutes. And you can see they're pretty much done. So you can see that they're ready to go. So we'll just give these maybe another second here. Flip over and brown the other side of a couple of these that weren't as brown as the others. And they're all set. break one of these open and see. And you can see all the way cooked inside, nice texture inside, and they're all set to go.
Tiffany asks, is there another oil you can use for the chicken pancakes?
Yes, you can use really any oil that you like for the chicken pancakes. You could use ghee. Ghee would be good, I think. I like something that holds up to a little bit of a higher heat and doesn't add too much flavor to it. So to me, olive oil would be a little bit too delicate, but you could do ghee, you could do coconut oil, you could do lard. Those would probably be my favorites. So I'm going to cook up the rest of these so we can have dinner when we're all done too. And I will cook along with you. If your kids like their pancakes sweet, you can add, that's where you might decide you want to play around and add some banana or add some butternut squash or something. We don't seem to mind one way or another, and so we will often just do them savory like this. And if you're looking for a way to use bone broth, then in the chicken pancakes it's delicious. Some kids don't like soup and you're trying to get a little bit more of the bone broths and things in. Adding 1/4 cup to this recipe is delicious. So we'll let that soak. We'll be done with that. And we'll let these chicken pancakes go. And we'll check our kale chips one more time here. I think I'm going to need to maybe give my kale chips another minute, but we'll see. We can now see what it's like. So these guys, yep, they're pretty. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull out the ones that are done, and I'm going to leave a couple of the chewy ones to keep going. They're actually pretty good. Just a few little corners might need a bit crisping. Okay. Yeah, I think they're actually good. So I'm going to just take them all off because I have the possibility of burning them if I'm not paying attention, and they're pretty much done. So there you go. We've got an entire plate of kale chips made from an entire bunch, and I guarantee you, if you make these, your family will eat one entire bunch of kale in one meal. There won't be any left over. People always ask me, well, what are they like the next day? I don't know, because we always eat them all whenever we make them. No, I actually have. They do last just fine for a few days if you leave them out on the counter in an airtight container. All right, so I'm going to let these just do their thing. I'm not going to worry so much about these because you've seen how these work. I'm just going to do these on my own so I can have those going as well. So let's take a little side trip here and talk about some of the giveaways today that we have, and then we'll come back and we'll do our last recipe, which is going to be a delicious energy bar. All right, so we have several giveaways today. So for USAAA, I have the benefit of having some wonderful sponsors, and what I usually do if I'm going to go to a conference where I'm packing up my whole family and everything is that I usually invite a couple sponsors along, people whose products I really believe in, that I use in my practice, and that I want to share with the people that I'm going to speak. So at this conference, we have Houston Enzymes and Speech Nutrients, who makes the Speak products, and so they have generously donated a free giveaway for our fun event tonight. So Houston, if you're not familiar with Houston, they make digestive enzymes. They make a few different varieties with DPP4 for the gluten and the dairy and the proteins, making sure that those proteins get broken down. The Trienza is a combination of their general enzyme, their no phenol enzyme, and the DPP4. So if you want, if you're interested in Houston, if you go and you look at the link that we have right off of the video page, you'll see a link. And on that page, you'll see the ability to click which particular giveaway that you'd like to be registered for. So Houston is giving away one free bottle of their chewables or their capsules. And Speech Nutrients is giving one bottle of their products away too. If you don't know Speak is a product. It was actually patented by, right over here where I live, the Oakland Children's Hospital. They made this amazing formula. They did a study. They found out that it was really helpful for speech apraxia for 98% of the kids in the study. So they patented it, and then Speech Nutrients went ahead and created that custom formula from that. So all the Speak products, that's what their formula is made from. So they've got the smooth, they've got the one my daughter really loves, which are the little fishies that you can bite the tail off and get the oil out of them, or you can go with the standard capsules that they had, the gel caps. I think that it's probably a toss between the smooth, which is an emulsified, and these in our household anyway. So if you're interested in the Speak product, then make sure you click that for the giveaway. We're also giving away 2 tickets for USAAA. So Larry is generously donated either a live and in-person ticket or an online ticket, and he's giving away 2. So if you can indicate there if you need 2 or 1, we're going to send, the winners are going to be announced, and we're going to send those off to the respective companies, and they're going to get back to you with those giveaways. And the final giveaway is from me. So let me actually I got to turn my chicken pancakes here. So even the second batch is still nice and non-stick. And there we go. So I'm going to be able to turn that off of the stove in just 1 minute. All right. So the last giveaway I want to share is from me, and it's from Nourishing Hope. And so we're going to be giving away several things. My cookbook, Cooking to Heal, and all the videos from it. So you'll get the cookbook, the hard copy, as well as all the digital videos and files that are on the back end. And the nice thing is that when I update recipes, if you already purchased the product on the back end, you'll have access to the document that you can print out with any new recipes. So as it gets updated, you get them. So for example, the next recipe we're doing isn't in this yet, but in my next revision, that will be in there too. So you'll get the cooking, and for those of you, if any of you do not have my Nourishing Hope for Autism, you'll get my book as well. This is going to go into all the different special diets, how to use them, when to use them, the biochemistry behind autism and ADHD, and it's going to go into all different supplements and a lot of good information to get you going and understanding how you can support your kids, as well as a copy. You'll get a laminated copy. You'll get a copy like this of my Nourishing Hope Food Pyramid as well. So when you go ahead and you see that link in the video area, you can click on that link. It'll give you the ability to put your information in and let us know which of the giveaways you're interested in, and we'll go ahead and pick winners. All right. All right, so wonderful. Let's go and do the most fun part of the night. Let's talk about something sweet. All right, I'm going to turn this off because these chicken pancakes are going to be done. They're going to keep heating. I've got my oven off. Now we can do the fun part. So for those of you who have been following any of the recipes and things I've done in the past, I have a coconut date ball that I've been doing for many years. And then just recently I added to the cookbook some raw macaroons. And then you can put those in the dehydrator. Then I just started thinking, well, I wanted to make something that was more of a bar. And so anyway, I just started thinking, and I kind of put a few different recipes and ideas together. I came up with a new recipe, and those I'm calling my energy bars. And those have in them a number of things. They have shredded coconut. They have some form of nuts. Now, in this case, I like a nice finely chopped nut, so I actually make mine into kind of a coarse nut flour. So I stick them in my Vitamix, and you can blend the nuts up. These were soaked and dehydrated almonds that I had made before, and just for the sake of the sound, I pre-blended them so that you didn't have to hear all of that very loud blending. So it's going to have those as a base. It's going to have some dates for some stickiness. And what you do with the dates is you're going to take the whole dates, you're going to open them up, you're going to take the pit out, and that's it. And then you're going to measure out how much you need, and then you're going to blend them in the food processor. So what you end up with is more of a paste. So in the end, you'll have just basically more or less a smooth, slightly chunky consistency for the dates. So this is 1.5 cups of coconut, shredded coconut. I like the fine shredded coconut for this. It's got 1.5 cups of almond flour or whatever chopped nuts you'd like. And it's got 3/4 cup of date paste. I like to add a little bit of maple syrup because in this particular recipe, they become more of a bar. And the bar is a little bit dry to the touch. It's not so sticky. So it's easier to travel with and take with you, and it holds together nicely. So I will often use a little bit of maple and then dehydrate them out a little bit. It's up to you. You can use almost any ingredients that you'd like. But the way that this particular recipe I came up with, it's using those 4 ingredients and then some coconut butter to bind it together. Now, the reason I had asked you at the beginning of this to stick your coconut butter in a thing of hot water is because it is very hard and we wanted to get it to a nice soft texture. So this has been sitting in very hot water for about a half an hour. So now you can see it's much easier to work with in this form. It's pretty hard to scoop out of the container. So that's those ingredients. But I just want to show you, and I'll show you how that all works, but I want to show you a few other things as well. So you can make these so many different ways. You can add goji berries, you can add some currants or raisins in there, you can add some pumpkin seeds, and you can take out the almond flour, substitute the almond flour for a pumpkin seed flour or for some chopped pumpkin seeds, and then you can make it nut-free and use seeds instead. So it's really flexible. Sometimes I like to just, chop up some walnuts and put those in, or like I said, some pumpkin seeds or some dried fruit. You really can figure out, are you on a special diet that only allows honey? You can use honey instead of maple. So you can really put anything you want in here. You can put it in the dehydrator or not as well. So I'm going to show you how this is made, and then I'll explain a little bit more of some of the variations.
There's one comment here. My kid's school is nut-free. I assume I could use a combination of peanuts, sunflower, sesame seeds, possibly?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can use any kind of seeds. You can keep them whole, or you can chop them up into a fine blend. It's really up to you, but absolutely. All right. So, I need one more thing, Martin. Do we have one more bowl? I forgot one more mixing bowl to mix this. Here, how about that kale bowl? Can you just hand me that?
Yep.
All right. All right, so now I'm going to take my coconut flour and my almond flour, and I'm going to put my dates in there. And this I'm just going to smash up all with my hands because it'll be the easiest way to go. Now, I've got to figure out. And these recipes we will be sending to you. So when you register for the giveaway, or if you just want to register for the recipes, put your information in. We'll get the email. Actually, we'll get the email out to you with the recipes, including the energy bars. So I literally typed this up yesterday. So let's see. 1 cup. So a little bit of the oil settled on top of this, so I wouldn't use all the oil. I would kind of mix it up here, and I'm going to measure out 1 cup. Okay. And coconut butter is different than coconut oil. Coconut butter is like peanut butter, where it is the blending of the coconut meat it is not just the oil, which can be confusing to some people. Okay, so that's a half a cup. We'll do another half a cup. And this really adds a nice texture to it as well. Okay, that's pretty good. Now that's all you need, and then you just mix it all up here. I'll just come in here. I think it's easier to just do this than it is to put it in a food processor. I'm going to add the maple. To me, the maple, I like the maple if I'm going to put them in the dehydrator and I want them to dry out a little bit. If you use honey, it stays sticky. If you use dates, it stays sticky. And if you want it to stay sticky, then you don't need the maple. But sometimes I like to put them in the dehydrator and it makes the surface of them dry, which is nice if you want to bring them with you and you don't want them sticking to everything or clumping into one big ball. And when you get the recipe, you'll see there's a photo of it because we won't have the chance to dehydrate these out. Sometimes I add a dash of salt, just not to make them salty, but just to bring out the flavors of the ingredients. Sometimes I don't. It just depends what mood I'm in for. And that's pretty much it. Now, you've got your dough, as I like to call it. And you can do a couple things. You can form them into a ball, like this. And you can just, eat them like that. If you have a dehydrator and you want to dehydrate them a little bit, it'll give them a little bit longer of a shelf life. And like I said, it'll take some of the liquid out so that they stay together really nicely. I want to show you one more thing here. This was a great little idea I got from Lexi's Kitchen. If you don't know Lexi's Kitchen, it's a wonderful blog of food allergies and really fun recipes. And she had this idea, this is a rice press for sushi making, but you can use it for your dates, for your bars as well. So let me just show you how that would work. Here, we'll just do it right on top. So if we put some of our batter or dough in here, and this is where, again, it really doesn't matter. You could use just nuts and seeds and you could hold it together with honey. So, almost any ingredients will work in here. So you do that, you take this, you press it down. It makes the perfect little energy bar. Now I made this one a little thick. You probably make it a little thinner, or you can cut them in half and make squares out of them. But it's just really a nice way to get a nice uniform bar. And sometimes kids want to be like all the other kids and have a bar as well. And here's a great opportunity to put everything in there. Go like this, pop it out, and there you go. So again, this is usually a little thicker than I make my bars, but again, it just goes to show you what you can do, and it really helps to press them nicely so they stay together. Otherwise, like I said, you can just make them into balls, and that works great too. The nice thing about them is that they're all natural sugars. They're dates and whatever other sweetener you want to use in there. They've got coconut butter, so some good energy as well as nuts. So one of the things I did in this recipe is I used a little less sweet and more nuts and things so that I could have really something that you could actually eat one of these and it actually could be a little bit more of an energy bar or something rather than just a sweet treat. So, all right, that is that, and that's pretty much the end. Now, what I would do is, again, I would just either eat these, or or in the case of what I will do after we're done today is I am going to go ahead and get my dehydrator out, and I'm going to just bake, probably put them in there for 24 hours on around 115 Fahrenheit. All right, and then one of the things I should have mentioned for the giveaway, the winners need to be in the United States. So I know we have a lot of viewers from all around, I should have mentioned that just so that anybody that might be listening somewhere else knows that for the giveaways and for the shipping and things, then we want people to be in the United States. All right, I'm just thinking here, let me just show you how I would plate this up for a dinner. So we'll put the bars aside because those are sweet. I wouldn't include those probably in my dinner. But add a couple chicken pancakes. Add some kale chips. And again, if your kids, some kids really like things small. They can kind of, it's not as intimidating, so you can always make them smaller pieces or break them up, whatever would work. And then what I might do is you can have a salad. But what I often love to do is do some sauerkraut. So since we were in a hurry tonight and I was preparing for this, what I'm going to do instead of having made a fresh salad or something, I love to just stick a dollop of sauerkraut on the plate, and that is your instant salad, and really simple and easy to do. So there you go. Now it could be a lot more elaborate. You could have some other side dishes. You could cook up some carrots or cook up some broccoli, steam something else along with it. But just like in real life, sometimes we just make the best of the ingredients that we have around, and that's what we're going to end up doing tonight for dinner. So thank you very much. Do we want to? Yeah, are there any more questions, by the way? While we're waiting for people to see if they have any last questions before we go, we'd love your feedback. So this was really fun for all of us here tonight to be able to do a live cooking class where it's not super scripted, where you can see that anybody can make healthy food for their family. Kid-friendly, fun stuff that's going to get good nutrition in, but in a form that's realistic and that they'll really enjoy. Hello, did you come back? Come in. You just came in perfect timing. Do you want something? What do you want? You want to be my taster? Ooh, going for the sauerkraut first. Mmm. Mmm. Good? Yeah? What else do you want to try? Mmm.
Maybe share a little bit more about different permutations, different dietary strategies. Let people know that there's just different options and choices and things.
Yep. Are you good for now? Oh, your finger. All right. Well, we'll come back. We'll eat some more in a little bit, okay, Rude? Or you can go sit at the table and eat some right now. Do you want to do that? Here, you're going to eat the sauerkraut. And, if you start your kids off really young eating this way, it's amazing. Ruby's been eating sauerkraut since she was maybe 10 months old, since she had a couple little teeth, maybe 8 months old. And she loves all different kinds of flavors, whether they're sour or sweet. And I think it really does make a big difference when they can enjoy things from when they're little and really start to develop that palate. So, all right, I'm going to give this to Dad. So if you want some more, you can have it. Here, you take it over to Dad. All right. All right, everyone. Any questions so far, Martin, that came in? For right now? Not too much? All right. All right. Did we want to show anybody, did we want to do our sauerkraut thing really fast?
Might as well. We've got it. You can do it really quickly. I'll bring it over to you.
All right. So we were just realizing that we were on our last batch or two of sauerkraut, and so we decided to make some. And I thought, well, since we're making it, why don't we just toss it in the container and show you what it's like and show you how we do ours. We're not going to do a full sauerkraut making because we could do a whole hour on that, but we just thought we'd show you kind of a little bit of what's in our kitchen and what we end up doing in our house. And what I was going to say earlier is that we're really having a lot of fun, and we would love any feedback from you. Is this interesting to you? Would you like to see more of them? Would you like us to do, what kinds of things would you like us to cover? So that is, we'd love your feedback. Okay, so this is our sauerkraut crock. This is called the harsh crock. There's different varieties and things. And so we're not going to do anything too special today. I'm just going to show you the sauerkraut that I had pre-made, or the cabbage that was shredded up. And all I'm going to do is to stick it in the crock, and we're going to go ahead and ferment it for, you can do it for a couple weeks. We often do ours for a couple months. In San Francisco, it doesn't get that hot, so it can ferment nice and slowly compared to other people. So I would just put this in here. And what I had done was I basically took the cabbage and I added some salt to it, so you can see all of the sweating of the liquid at the bottom. That liquid is crucial because that liquid is what is going to cover the sauerkraut and be the brine for the sauerkraut. So it'll keep releasing, and it will get covered in water. And we put our stones on top of it, and then we'll be all set to go. So that's pretty much it. We can always do, if you're interested, we can always do a sauerkraut making demo. It's one of my favorite things to do, and people often love to be part of it. So I'm happy to share all of that with you at another time. All right, and then if you do have cooking to heal, then the recipe's in there as well. So there's a lot of great stuff. Made a little bit of a fast job here. But anyway, we will finish this up on our own and get our sauerkraut crock going and be all set. So that's what that's going to look like. We'll put the weights on it, get the liquid, and our sauerkraut will be on its way. All right, well, thank you for this glimpse into our family and cooking, and I hope to see you all at USAAA. It will be streaming live, and you can join that way as well if you can't make it in person. But we will be there, and we look forward to, please come by and say hello. And we look forward to meeting many of you as we go. And just remember that, this is a journey to helping your children eat better. And that Dr. Bob Sears was saying earlier, sometimes it's about getting good nutrition in. Sometimes it's taking out the inflammatory, problematic foods like the gluten and the dairy and that. So everything that I do is always gluten-free and dairy-free and soy-free. And then we have lots of allergen-free other options for people as well. So just being on the journey and trying some new things, even if you have a picky eater, you can do it. What I spend most of my time doing is helping families with children with really picky eaters learn how to eat well and get good nutrition in. So hopefully you'll see more of us. You'll join us on some more events. And thank you so much for being here today. She's ready for more sauerkraut. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. You can always find us online, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Want to say bye? Say bye? He wants some food. He wants food. Well, you can find us at nourishinghope.com.